The Harvard Nurses' Health Study, involving more than 100,000 women, was started in 1976, and so, as you can imagine, is now the most definitive long-term study ever on older women's health. Since the study started, thousands of participants have died, and now, thanks to all that hard work, though, 35 years later, they published the risk factors for mortality. And because it was a so-called competing risks analysis, it allows one to compare different risks to one another. The #1 single cause of death? Heart disease. And so no surprise that dietary cholesterol consumption was a significant risk factor for death. The second leading cause of death was smoking-related cancer deaths. Comparing the two, consuming the amount of cholesterol found in just a single egg a day appears to cut a woman's life short as much as smoking 5 cigarettes a day for 15 years. The most protective behavior they found was fiber consumption. Eating just a cup of oatmeal's worth of fiber a day appears to extend a woman's life as much as 4 hours of jogging a week. But of course, there's no reason you can't do both. The one specific food most tied to longevity was nuts. You appear to also get 4 hours of weekly jogging benefit eating just 2 handfuls of nuts a week as well. Taking a step back, though, it's worth noting that the intake of cholesterol, only found in animal foods, was associated with living a shorter life, and the intake of fiber, only found in plant foods, was associated with living a longer life. Fruits and vegetables, which is to say eat more plants, since the term vegetable just basically means all parts of plants that aren't fruit. Eat more fruits and vegetables if for no other reason than to live longer, but only recently did we learn how much longer. The first study to follow people over time to evaluate a dose-response curve between fruit and vegetable consumption and mortality. Compared to those eating 5 servings of fruits and veggies a day, those only eating 4 lose a month off their lifespan. Only 3 servings lose 3 months. Then we start going off the cliff. 2 servings a day, we live 7 months shorter. 1 serving, practically a year and a half. 2 years gone at half serving a day, and then 3 years of our lives down the drain. Just a single serving of fruit, just like 1 apple, could mean a 19-month difference between life and death. And 1 daily salad could mean years more time on this planet. This study mostly looked at people in their 50s and 60s. Is it too late by our 70s? No. Women in their 70s with the most carotenoid phytonutrients in their bloodstream were twice as likely to survive 5 years than those with the lowest, doubling one's likelihood of survival just eating some more fruits and vegetables. In this study out of Taiwan, spending just 50 cents a day on fruits or vegetables appears to buy us about a 10% drop in mortality. That's quite a bargain. Imagine if there was a drug that, without side effects, could lower our risk of death 10%. How much do you think drug companies would charge? Probably more than 50 cents.
For 100,000 years now, humans have been dreaming and hoping for longevity. So it's quite a triumph today that so many of us will live to be 80 or 90 or even 100. And there's wonderful things to come of it, the chance to reinvent yourself, learn to play the guitar when you're 90, to know your great-grandchildren, to perhaps articulate wisdom from a life living through a whole century of time. But there's some problems, too. How do we have a purpose in life? Last year we had almost 50 million retirees, and they watched on average of 49 hours of television a week. What for? What is the purpose of being a 70 or 80 or 90-year-old? How do we invent a world of long-lived men and women in which we have meaning and purpose throughout our lives? We have a medical system that's very expensive, that younger people wind up paying for, that older people receive. And so how do we create a better financial infrastructure for this wondrous era of longer life? The rate for people with Alzheimer's and related dementias over the age of 85 is 1 in 2. And so as more and more of us live very long lives, unless we have a breakthrough to eliminate Alzheimer's disease, it will be the sinkhole of the 21st century into which we fall, our families fall, and the economy falls. How does a person reinvent themselves, If you're 50 and you're winding up a career, or perhaps a marriage hasn't worked, how do you take a deep breath and turn yourself from a caterpillar into a butterfly? Essentially, give birth to the next version of themselves, which is going to be necessary if we're going to live these very long lives, because one dream for life doesn't go the distance. You need to continue to reboot yourself and reimagine yourself along the way.